It's an honor to speak for you and your group, and it's always an honor when Mac's in the front row. Gosh darn, I was thinking this morning, me and Ryan were coming here. This was the shortest, when he asked me to lecture, he told me where it was, and this is Jay Geyer's place. And it's like, okay, that's 7 minutes from my house. I can't even get to the airport in 20. And I was thinking, well, what was this? This is the easiest lecture I've ever done. I mean, I literally left and was here in 7 minutes. But I was thinking, what was the hardest one we did? We left Phoenix, flew to San Fran, flew to Tokyo, flew to Hong Kong, flew to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, to Cambodia, and then it was an hour drive. And by the time we got to our hotel room, it was 36 hours since we left our house. And we literally thought we'd been on a death march. We all fell asleep, and I don't think anybody even was alive for like 14 hours. This was so easy and so fun. But hey, it's an honor to be here this morning. I graduated from dental school in '87. Basically, in a nutshell, I was born in '62. My mom and dad were Irish Catholics, so they had 7 kids in like 3 days. And we were so poor that we didn't even know we were poor. And my dad still lived below his means, and he made $11,000 a year delivering rainbow bread. And when I was 10, he had saved up enough money to buy one of those new things called a franchise, because after World War II, Eisenhower saw how the Germans could move around on those Autobahns, and he knew when they made a tank in Ohio, it could take 6 weeks of back roads to get that thing to LA, to load it on a boat. And when they built those interstates, it was before that, like 95% of Americans lived their whole life and never went 95 miles away from their home. But now they get on that interstate and hell, they drive all the way to Disneyland. And when they got off on the interstate, they didn't know what anything was. So if they saw anything familiar, they went there. So Ray Kroc and McDonald's and all those people, they all figured out that, oh my God, this is the franchise, consistency. And my dad got into the Sonic Drive-In, and the first year he made $60,000. And oh my God, we went from living in downtown Wichita to the suburbs. I didn't even know that houses had air conditioners in them. I thought only grocery stores did stuff like that. And then after he had 5, he moved to the wealthiest part of town, Hidden Lakes Estates, where my next door neighbor was Kenny Anderson, a valedictorian dentist from Creighton University. And I'd go to work with the love of my life, my dad, and we'd make hamburgers and onion rings. And then I'd go to work with Kenny, and there was no technology, there was no computers, none of that stuff was live, but he would take x-rays, and then we'd go into a dark room and we would develop them, and then and I'm just like, it was love at first sight. In the 7th grade, I wrote my dental school letter, said, how do I become a dentist? And they told me I should go to high school and take science classes. And then when I got to dental school, Diane Beard had filed that letter away. She said, this guy's definitely gonna be a dentist. She filed it in the chart, and I'd forgotten all about that, and she read that letter I had written, and it was so hilarious. And so then I turned 60, and I thought, I decided I was going to retire because it was my eyes. I mean, I just couldn't get enough light. I was 60 years old, treat other people like you want to be treated, and I realized I wouldn't want me working on myself. I can't see. I mean, no one wants to go to Stevie Wonder for a dentist. And so I sold my practice, and I retired, and I completely retired, and it was about, I went and lived. I got 4 kids, 8 grandkids, went and lived like 2 months with each one of them. And then I was done, bored completely out of my mind. I was glad I got the dental office is gone, the house is gone. I got a little Airbnb downtown Phoenix, and then I got hit by AI. My son Ryan right there, he's got a couple degrees in computers, and he kept telling me about this AI, and finally he just got mad and he said, Dad, just download ChatGPT. So I downloaded ChatGPT, and then I realized, oh my God, this AI, it's gonna be bigger than the Industrial Revolution. So it was 2 years ago, September, so we're at our 2-year anniversary, and I'm only about halfway through, but basically I ended up hiring 12 full stack software engineers, AI developers, 12 of them, and they're not cheap. I mean, they're and none of them are old. Like the oldest one you're gonna find is like 25, because software engineers are like mechanical engineers. So, electrical engineers. Like, let's say you go to electrical engineering school, and we're all making vinyl records, and you come out and you go to college, you learn how to make the CD-ROM. and you're the kingpin, and all the vinyl record guys are going bankrupt, and you make the CD-ROM, and you're the head kid, and just when you're, married, kids, got a house, Mr. MP3 walks up to you and says, CD-ROM, get the hell out of our way. It's MP3. And then those guys are rocking with MP3. And then someone walks up and says, come on, dude, it's streaming video. Will you get the hell out of here? And it's the same thing with software. I was old. All my programmers were as old like me, and they were all C++ and Sharp and SQL Server and all that. And the whole world's gone AI. And if you do a deep dive into it, man, put on your seatbelt, because I am convinced. I'm seriously convinced. I've been in this 2 years. I got a dozen of them that are my employees. I mean, this is all I do, and I don't see any evidence that anybody has any idea what's coming down the pipeline. I mean, even the Wall Street Journal, they did the other day, S&P 500. Only 5% of the S&P 500 actually has their own full-stack software engineer programmer. The other 95% think, well, it's just going to buy a piece of software. Like they're waiting, like, well, what software should I buy? When you start that mentality, you don't even get it. You don't even get it. I'm coaching some of my friends, some of my classmates, and I got one guy, and I don't want to say his name because it'll embarrass them. And I'll sit there and I'll say, okay, he has a really big office. He's got 4 people that just do insurance. And I said, okay, well, how much you paying these? And they're all between like 65 to 80 a year. They're in California, higher wages. And I said, okay, well, here's an ad. I want you to run it on Indeed. I want you to get a Python programmer. And you could get one for 90 to 135, somewhere in that range. And they don't need experience. They just need a degree. They need to know what the hell they're doing. And and he says, well, what is he going to do? He's going to sit down there with those 4 girls. And he's going to see what the hell they're doing. You just don't know what you don't know, but this Python, it's so elegant, it's so amazing. But anyway, I'll just start going through. So let's start off with, I actually should give my seminar since I actually made a seminar. I've never given this lecture before. I decided, come on, I'm lecturing for Mac, make a damn new seminar. I deleted my old one, got a new one. What the heck happened to dentistry? New grads face $600,000 debt, and $75 an hour job offers. Dentistry, we all know is they're upset, and what's that? So I hate dentistry. Burnout runs deep, but I don't believe it's stress. Humans thrive on stress. I mean, they love it. Like you take any serious athlete, and there's 3 seconds on the shot clock. Who wants the ball in basketball? Michael Jordan, Kobe. I mean, they live for that moment. I mean, there's nothing a quarterback loves more than to find out, I'm down, I need a touchdown to win the game. Remember the Cowboys on the 2-minute drill when we were little? If they had 2 minutes on the clock, when they got to the 2-minute drill, the Cowboys, that was a guaranteed touchdown because it was the last 2 minutes. Everybody was time to rise up, suck it up, buttercup. And man, on that 2-minute drill, if the Cowboys were behind when I was a little kid, it was guaranteed they were going to score. It's not stress, it's moral injury. When you do things you don't like to do for money, it usually leads to depression and things like that. 99% of prostitutes are substance abuse, and because they do things they like. They do things they don't like to do for money. Now, I didn't see the research. This is just what Mac's own personal data that he had collected over the years. This is what he was telling me. It was just a survey. It was just a few couple hundred women. And but the thing is, I went to school to do this, and now the insurance company says I can't do that. And then, they go work at a DSO, and they went to 8 years of dental school, and they got a doctorate in dentistry, and they got an office manager telling them they can't do this clinical dentistry, or they can't refer this out, or they got to do this. And by the way, one thing on the DSO deal, when I was 10 years old, my dad, I only had 5 sisters. My brother wasn't born until I was out of the house. It's called Catholic birth control. And but basically, we drove 6 hours from Wichita to Dallas because we went into the big restaurant franchise convention, and in our convention it'd be like Mac Lee, Pete Dawson, Gordon Christian, and theirs was Ray Kroc. And I was sitting right where you were, and my dad was next to me, listening to Ray Kroc when I was 10, and I just loved the guy. And I don't remember, the only thing I can remember at 10, now I'm 63, is him saying, now, when they drive down that interstate, they're going to have to go to the bathroom. And when they get off that interstate, they're going to come to that corner, and they're going to see a filling station, and a filling station looks like a camel just used that bathroom. And then there's going to be a 7-Eleven Circle K, and them lying sociopaths are going to say they don't have a bathroom. Like, what do you have, like a catheter coming out of your kidney? I mean, what do you do? You got a 12-hour shift with no bathroom? You lying piece of whatever. And he said, you know what we're going to do? He said, there's a difference between men and women. Men, they'll pee on their own truck. They'll write their name in the snow. They'll pee off the cliff. They'll pee anywhere they want. But women are squatters. And they're very, very particular where they squat. And we're going to send a crew in the woman's bathroom every hour on the hour, and we're going to make sure that's the tidiest, cleanest place to go squat on that intersection. And while Mama's in there squatting, Daddy Bear and Baby Bear are going to be in line for those salty French fries and that delicious Coca-Cola. And I thought, well, that all makes sense. I mean, I can see that. I mean, I've heard this conversation on our station ride with Mom. I'm not going to pee there, you know. And he just knew people. And in dentistry, it's not stress. It's not a hard. Come on, how hard of a job is it? Okay, you're in the top 10% income. Okay, these people are making $175,000 a year on average. I mean, go ask 90% of America what they would do for $175,000 a year. I mean, they look at you and you work indoors. When's the last time you fell off the top of the dental office, like on a cell phone tower, got washed over on a fishing boat, a shrimp boat, had a crane drop on you, and you work, oh my gosh, with like 90% beautiful women. My every old man that would come in my office for 3 decades say, God, I spent my whole life working with 6 ugly men wearing overalls. And you've got 6 gorgeous women anywhere you look. Anywhere. And he goes, you know how lucky you are just for that? And I said, I know, and I'm inside. I don't, I'm not going to get, you got it's moral injury. It's moral injury. Delta Dental, it's like a virus. And there's 2 markets now. You got to play the game, and then you got to get out of the game. And I believe there's 2 markets. When you get out of school, you're not worth a $1,500 root canal. An endodontist is, who's been doing it 10 years. But I think when you get out of school, when I got out of school, my first job was a DSO right here in Phoenix, Arizona. I got out of school May 11. I didn't get my office open until September 21st. There was a DSO set out here called Sunshine Dental by Ed Silker, I believe out of Minnesota. Great guy. And he had a north, south, east, west. It's called Sunshine Dental. It was open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. And I really wanted a job because my dad would not give me a dime. He said there were 2 types of people, and he says, I'm not going to be a daddy did it. And he paid for all my sister's stuff because they were squatters. And I guess if you squat, you get free college. And if you have to stand and pee, you can't. But anyway, that was old school. And he never gave me a dime. And I told Ed, I said, but you're not going to hire me because I'm going to quit in 4 months, open my own office. He just laughed, said, I'm not in competition with, he says, come here. He goes, which location, which hours? I said, I'd really like to go to the closest location to my house, but you probably don't want that because I'm going to set up an office. And he just kept laughing. He goes, I don't care, anything like that. I said, I want to work 10 to 10, 7 days a week. So when I got to UMKC Dental School, I had to do 55 extractions, 15 canals endo, 15 canals of removable, blah, you know the drill, and I think 50 amalgams. Anyway, I did my dental school requirements every week at Sunshine Dental. I met friends for life. There was this one dentist named Nick Gidwani, and the big joke was I would pull out the top half of the tooth, and then I'd have to go get Nick to pull out the bottom half of the tooth. And in 4 months and 1,000 extractions, Nick Gidwani literally taught me how to pull any tooth I could. And he's just a great guy. But it's the, I look at the DSOs like the restaurant business, like look at McDonald's. A lot of the things that built McDonald's were not in that movie, The Founder. It's funny how biographies never get it right like an autobiography. Never read a biography. It's what some journalist thinks of you. I want to know you, what you were thinking. And autobiographies, that's where you learn the deep, raw stuff. In the movie The Founder, it's like, good God, it didn't even, I love the movie, but the main thing with The Founder is Ray said, look, I'm only going to give my franchisee 1 location. and he's got to be married with a stay-home wife with kids, then I own a slave. And hopefully they go to church because of the community and the involvement and the brand building recognition. And that never made the movie. And I did that in my dental office. I learned right out of there. You get some young kid with no student loans because daddy paid for college. And if you close at 5, he's up there at 3:30 trying to cancel his last patients to get out of there because he wants to go hit the bars and the gym and blah, blah, blah. No, hell no. Hire a Mormon who's already got one kid in the oven, one kid on the ground, and he knows that that woman's never going to earn $1 and will have 13 kids and they'll live in a shoe. That guy's early. You can give him a root canal during lunch. He thanks you for it. And if you close at 5, you say, well, we got a toothache coming down, needs a root canal, belt, and crown, but it's 5. They won't get it till 5:30. You probably wouldn't be done till 7:30. And he'll be like, oh, thank God. Thank God for this. And Chick-fil-A took it even further. You know, McDonald's stores are doing 3 million a year. Chick-fil-A is doing 5. Those guys are so into the church thing that every major religion said you need a Sabbath. The Jews took off, Saturday, the Christians Sunday, the Muslims Friday, and the Chick-fil-A people said, yeah, you need a day off to refuel, and they're doing $5 million a store. Then you go to Subway or Burger King where you can buy 10 franchises, and you know it's all shit. I mean, you go to Burger King to this day, and you get French fries. The bottom of that French fry is going to be like half an onion ring, maybe a tater tot, no quality control. Subways, you go to the bathroom and it looks like an elephant had sex with a camel in there. I mean, it's just, one location. And I tell the young kids, you go get a job at a DSO. Well, I don't care if Rick Workman owns 1,000 of these offices and is a billionaire. That's not the case. I want to know the staff in here, the office manager. How many locations does she work? And if she works one location, and everybody in that staff works at one location, and temp services, oh my God, these DSOs, they got so far to go. I podcast them. I'm always trying to get them to do better and all that because I think they serve a great purpose. They serve Americans. They market. I remember when the first great DSO came here. It was the implant and a crown in about an hour. What was that one? What was it? Clear Choice. Where instead of 1 + 1 = 3, they did 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. They said, let's get a dentist, and let's get the lab tech, and let's get the surgeon. Let's get it all in one place. So we're gonna diagnose it. We're gonna do the surgery. We're gonna make it. We're all in one place. And they were advertising so much that you had patients coming every day. Dr. Fran, have you ever heard of this all-on-4? I heard it first from my patients. I never heard of it until my patients asked me about it. Is it true you can, and every oral surgeon and periodontist were completely schizophrenic. They all say, I hate Clear Choice, and I hate these DSOs, and I hate these DSOs, but God dang, they tripled my business. They rising tide lifts all boats. And I just tell these guys when I podcast them, and Heartland is the best, because he's on Dental Town every day and he's engaging his doctors, and he is a doctor. There's DSOs that aren't even owned by doctors. Really? You guys can't pass in. There's no minimum bar for you guys. Look at Boeing. I grew up in Wichita. Wichita was the only secondary plant to Boeing from Seattle. And the head of Boeing, the CEO, was always an aeronautical engineer that all the young employees that became engineers for Boeing were just like, oh my God, I can't believe, like it was Mac or Gordon or Pete Dawson. They were just like, oh my God, I work for that guy. And then Wall Street comes in. You know Wall Street, where money's the answer, what's the question? And they come in and they say, no, you need a business person. And they move the headquarters away from Seattle to Washington, D.C., because that's where all the money is. And within 3 years, their planes were falling out of the sky. And today, you can own a dental office without even being a dentist because you're either drunk or asleep at the wheel. If you can't do it for your own dignity, do it at least for the American people. Do it for these young kids that are coming out in a DSO and some office manager is doing a morning huddle and going over your x-rays, telling you that every MOD amalgam is a crown opportunity. And since this person has 10 of them, at least you could probably do 2 today. And you got an opening after here. So why don't you find the 2 best crown opportunities? And then whoever does the most CERACs at the end of the year gets a trip to Hawaii. You know, at that point, seriously, I have more respect for that girl who's blowing people behind the dumpster at Circle K. At least she knows what she's doing, okay? There's no confusion in her mind. She's like, I got a job to do, and I'm going to do it for 20 bucks. In dentistry, they're like, what is the job? What are they doing? And we're all asleep. Really, you should have to be a dentist to own a DSO. You should have to be. And then when you're working in a dental office, I'm with the whole staff. I don't want any temp service. I tell Rick Workman that. I said, you know, these kids coming out of dental school, they've only done 2 molars in their life. Remember when you had your first molar endo on the schedule? You didn't sleep good the night before. I remember I got my FAGD, my MAGD, I got my diplomat in the International Congress of Implantology, I got my fellowship mission too. I mean, the first 5 years I did implants. If I knew that tomorrow morning's first patient was an implant, I dreamed about it. I slept like this. And, and then he gets in there and he's got his molar endo and he didn't even sleep last night. And his assistant's gone and they called in a temp. So now he's got to do his molar endo with some girl he couldn't even pick out of a police lineup. You know, and then I never worried about the DSOs. I loved them because when I practiced in Phoenix, they'd all come in and say the same thing. I went in there and they told me I had 4 cavities. So I said, okay, they scheduled to have me come back. And the dentist that was there, he ain't even there anymore. And then you're the new dentist. And then you say I have 6. And then you do 3 on this side. And then I come back and do the 3 on the other side. Now you're not there. And now your buddy next to you says that he doesn't even agree with that diagnosis, and he thinks 2 of these look like shit and need to be redone. And it's like, God dang, they just want to go, they just want trust, they just want faith. You just want to go where everyone knows your name. Quality is about employee turnover. And you hear all the really good panky dentists bitch about that say, oh, that guy over there's got $1 million practice, he does shitty dentistry. Yeah, well, let me tell you about that guy over there. His new dental assistant that they just hired, yeah, she's been there 7 years. He's got 5 people in there that have been there 20 years. And I'm looking around in your office, and no one's lasted here more than 3 years. You know what my diagnosis is? You're an asshole. Your patients leave you, your staff leaves you, your wife leaves you, and you think you're going to go get an equilibration, and you're going to get a semi-adjustable articulator and be the perfect dentist, and everybody's going to stand in line to come see you. What are you on? I assume it's shrooms. I don't think you could get here on beer and wine, okay? I think at this point you're eating mushrooms. So insurance, it's a time and a place. I mean, you just got out of school, you don't know shit. You really don't know shit. I don't think you're an endodontist. I mean, and you know, you do your first endo. You know, endodontists always think they should do all the endo, and really they should, because no one can see 2 tiers. Like, if you do a root canal, Delta's going to give you $800, and if it fails, you're going to go to the board, and they're going to bring an endodontist who got $1,500. So let me get this right. If I wreck my Ford Escort, you're going to bring in people from the Ford Taurus. If you were paid for a Mercedes-Benz and I was paid for a Toyota, how the hell are the Mercedes-Benz people grading my Toyota Corolla? So I don't even know how. I mean, the state board that just thinks, well, a root canal is a root canal. No, it's not. A car is not a car. A house is not a house. You can get a 9-bedroom house, a 3-bedroom house, a 1-bedroom house. You can get a condo. You can live like this man here in a van down by the river. You know what I mean? I mean, it's called market segmentation, a market segment on price. So if you're giving me $800, and then the DSOs will pay the dentist 25%. They're paying about 25 to 27% of production on endo, but on the specialists they have to pay them. Those guys want 40%. But they're paying them 40% at $1,800 for an endo because of insurance. But the general dentists are only getting $800. So yeah, it's so screwed up. And when I got out of school, the board of Delta was all the best specialists. I mean, like you're an oral surgeon, I'd refer my case to you. You're a periodontist. I'd send my patient. I mean, they were just all dentists. And then Delta decided, well, we don't need dentists for a dental company. We need consumers to represent the patients. Oh, okay, Boeing. Yeah. So I'm sure 5 Karens on the board know everything you need to know about endo, perio, pedo. Yeah, because you don't need to be a dentist to be on a dental board. I mean, if you believe that shit, but it's good training ground. It's lower cost. It's basically a volume discount. You know, you're getting 100 patients. So instead of paying you $1,000 for a crown, I'll give you these 100 patients, but you're only going to pay you $650 for a crown. That's where you should cut your teeth. But 10 years later, and then you tell me you're burned. If you're not burned out, some people love treating the poor. Mother Teresa of Calcutta did it till the day she died. But if it's burning you out and you're not happy and you're not smiling and you say you want to retire, which is the kiss of death. Look at any longevity study. Women can retire because women always have friends. And how many women here, raise your hand, be honest, if you're your husband's only friend? Go ahead, raise it high. I mean, men, you say, well, who's your best friend? Well, my wife, because she has to. She's married and we have 2 kids. But, you know, a man might have, you know, how many different men call your husband friends on a weekly basis? How many? None. And then other people say, oh, the guy's a loser. I have 1. And someone's like, Mac's like, I got 2. Women have 5, 6, 7, and that's even if they're not even alcoholics. You get a wino, she's probably got 13, 14, but when men retire, it's never anything good. I mean, just ask ChatGPT if retirement is good for you. So you want to retire to what? I retired, and it was about 18 months, like say 2 months with mom, 2 months with each kid, 2 months just moving around, and after about a year and a half, it's like, okay, I did the retirement thing. I mean, people are saying, well, you should travel. I've already lectured in 50 countries. You just got to have a bone to chew on. And furthermore, if you're working 5 days a week, cut down to 4. If you're cutting 4, cut down to 3, cut down to 2. Kenny Anderson, my valedictorian guy, he said every year, starting at 60, he said every year I want to work an hour less and $1 more. When he was 80, he was working Monday and Tuesday from 6 to noon, and he was still making more money than he did when he was 70, 60, 50, 40, 30. Because his patients had been there forever. He wasn't an insurance provider. He was charging his own fee. No one that had been with him for 30 or 40 years was going to shop around price on him. Half of America doesn't even have dental insurance, and you hate your office because of it. I mean, come on, just figure out what you're doing. Now, here's 4 dentists that make $25,000 a paycheck. The first one had to do at 80% overhead, which is the norm. Now, when I got out of school, it was in 87, it was close to this 50%. You had to do $50,000 in dentistry to make 25. And then I would say by the year 2000, the average was up to about 65%. And now after COVID, it's 80%. So I want you to think of the procedure that, not that you hate the most, but it's just the hardest. Like when your mom told you had to go mow the lawn, did you know, when you were 10, you got so excited you made a mess in your pants. I mean, you got to fire up the lawnmower and push it all by yourself. I mean, when you're mowing the lawn at 10, 11, and 12, there's nothing cooler. And then when my dad made money, he got a riding lawnmower. Hell, that took it to 13, 14. I couldn't believe I was lucky enough to drive a riding lawnmower. But you know, at 16, you're like, yeah, you're kind of over the riding lawnmower thing, and you don't want to do it. And my deal was is when you look in the schedule, you got to go in the room, and you got 4 MOD composites in a quadrant. It's like, that's just hard, man. And I was so dumb because, you know, I had to have perfect contacts on a guy that came in with half a ham sandwich stuck between his teeth. I'm checking the floss on a guy who's never flossed in his life. I'm redoing a composite because the contact's not right on a guy that, you know, has a pack of Marlboro Red right there and probably drinks more Bud than water. And but to me, as MOD composite, would you rather do $125,000 of MOD composites to make 25 grand, or would you rather do 50,000? And how do you get there? It's real simple. You just raise your prices. And the other thing about insurance, you can't do insurance because you guys just can't see market segmentation. Like at your state boards, you can't judge a man who got $800 for a root canal by an endodontist who got $1,800. And if you do that, you are so economically illiterate, you should change your name to Dr. Cretin. I mean, you're just, You should get a tattoo N on your forehead, and people say, what is that N for? Neanderthal, okay, yeah. I should have gone extinct 40,000 years ago. I mean, and you do it even in your interest. Like, okay, well, you only get this much money, do an amalgam. I don't believe in amalgams. I know you believe in high overhead. I mean, you got $1 million of bonding agents, and you could make money on this with amalgams. You could make money on this with a PFM, sending it to Glidewell or Orm or some low-cost lab, and you're sending it to some guy that works under a microscope for $2 million a unit, and you're getting paid chicken skeet. I mean, if they want somebody using your lab, well, then drop insurance and raise your price. Like, no, I don't believe in amalgam, and I don't believe in amalgam because I think the mercury interacts with the Budweiser and then interacts with the fentanyl, and then when it hits the marijuana THC, it reacts with the Marlboro light cigarette. I mean, I look at Americans. I mean, when you're eating at KFC and you smoke Marlboro and you're glad that marijuana is legalized and you're butthurt about mercury and an amalgam, really? I mean, do you have any? Is there any logic in your whole? I mean, either everyone's different, and it's not where you're from. I've lectured in 50 countries. I'm convinced all the people are the same. I learned this. It was really interesting lecturing because, you know, when I get there, they'd always want to put me up at like the Marriott or something. They didn't have any money. I said, well, I don't want to fly to your country and be in the Marriott. I want to live in one of your homes. I want to stay in one of your homes. Like, well, we have small homes. That's why I want to. I mean, I'll never forget in Poland. First time I lectured, I was in Marcin Bilecki's home, and I woke up. And I went to the refrigerator and I opened it up and my heart stopped. I mean, I was expecting a gallon of milk and some Fruit Loops and all the things in my refrigerator. I didn't see anything in his refrigerator that was in mine. All these sausages and tomatoes and you're in Asia and Cambodia. There's fruits you never even see. I remember eating my first mango. I said, what's that? And he said, really? They don't sell mangoes in America? And I thought, mango, okay, mango. And I mean, I love the people side of it. I didn't want to do that other stuff, but I mean, but the first thing I learned is that no one likes their government. You go to any country, no one's ever said to me, yeah, our government, it's great, man. They're so smart up there. Them are some of the best people in Cambodia or Poland or anywhere you go, even anywhere you go. They hate their government. I mean, like they all do. I'm talking about dentists. They're all smart as shit. They all study, you know, whenever you study math, physics, chemistry, and biology, that's the 4 pillars of knowledge. And whenever you're listening to some expert and they never had a college class in math, physics, chemistry, or biology, you know they're just voodoo. And you saw this in COVID. Remember in COVID? COVID had been out 14 and a half minutes, and every person in America was already an expert on virology, immunology, vaccines. And to prove how smart they are, what did they do? They ran right to the store and bought all the toilet paper. Because that's where all their thinking was taking place. They need to keep wiping their thinker. And they would just come in and it's like, okay, an hour ago you didn't even know what an immunology was, and now you're an expert and you believe it. My mom believed it. She's 87. It's just like you can't fix believers who just believe that they know it all. And I love that about humans. I love the fact that every single human on earth thinks they're the smartest person in the world. And you don't want to be the one to tell them you're actually dumber than a rock, okay? There are squirrels and possums and zebras that are smarter than you. But I don't want to burst your bubble. You just keep on thinking it. And my God, I love that humans. But I realized we were all on the same page. And lecturing all those years, sometimes the whole world was happy and expanding and was peaceful, and then sometimes they were cranky as shit and mad and pissed off, and then they were happy. And right now, this is actually the most mad, piss off, and cranky I've seen dentists on Dental Town from around the world. There ain't a happy dentist in the world, and it's okay, because either it's going to go off the edge and there'll be a world war and it'll go to hell in a handbasket, or it's always that time when the pendulum starts swinging back. And finally, the monkeys all get pissed off, and then they finally turn around and they go the other way. And then you'll have another 7 or 10 years of good times roll, and then I'm 60. I'm sure by the time we're 80, it's going to be all hell breaks loose again. I mean, that's just the way humans roll. And what do you expect? There's 8 billion people. They're trapped on a rock. No one's getting off, and you're all going to die. Now, how could that story turn bad? Okay, and they're mad at Delta. They're mad at the ADA. Their mom. And remember when your kids are cranky? How many times when you got a kid that's cranky, I'm the dad, I got 4 sons, how many times in my life have I been the source of everything that's gone wrong in their life? You know, when they're cranky, moms, how many moms have gone through where you have children where everything wrong, they always blame on you? Raise your hand if you're a mom. Raise it high. Yeah, and is it you? Are you really just the worst mom ever? Or do you have a really cranky child? And you know, when they're a baby, what's wrong? They're tired, they need a nap, they're hungry, and right now, that's the situation in the world. They're mad at the ADA, and by the way, the ADA, the reason they're so pissed off is just, they're having a big economic shortfall, and I opened with this on the AI. The ADA did what 95% of the S&P 500 does. They had this big thought about how they could improve all their software. So what did they do? They outsourced it. They wanted to buy a piece of software. They wanted someone else to solve all their problems, and they paid an arm and a leg, and they're going to install a piece of software, and it's all going to be fine, and it wasn't fine at all. It was all messed up. And then they want more money. And by the way, when they signed that big old multi-million-dollar contract, the marketing people that sold it probably went on a cruise around the world, and they made millions of dollars of profit. And then they probably never even thought about what the hell they actually did for you. Probably got 8 warm programmer bodies, threw it at the problem. They did whatever. Anybody could have seen that coming. And then they're doing it again. Well, the ADA has an IT department. The ADA needs to get rid of their IT department. They need to fire every single person in that department, because it's probably somebody as old as you or me. They're probably a C++ programmer that graduated from college making CD-ROMs and 8-track tapes and cassettes and vinyl records. And any programmer worth his salt is probably under 25 years old, because none of this shit existed. They didn't teach this anywhere 10 years ago, okay? And they just need to get a bunch of Python programmers, and then those guys need to go on location, and they need to find out what the hell's going on, and they need to implement. It's the same thing with DSOs. DSOs are always saying, well, what software would you recommend that I buy? And by the way, when you say DSO, will you just quit getting triggered by it? I mean, number one, you always refer to the 3 big boys, Heartland with 1,000 locations, Aspen with 1,000, Pacific Dental with 1,000. I say 1,000 loosely. It's anywhere from 800 to 1650, whatever the hell. You always think of that. There's 2,000 DSOs. And you know how big the average DSO is? 3 locations. And you know where the sweet spot is? 6 locations. And that's really what a DSO is. And rolling in all these, and what do the big boys do? When you own a 6-location DSO, Heartland acts as liquidity. You go sell it. Well, what are you going to do? Go find some dental student coming out of dental school and say, hey, how would you like to buy a 6-office DSO, and you haven't even done 15 units of endo yet? So who are you going to sell to? So really the big boys, basically Rick Workman is liquidity. I can't tell you how many big boys in Texas had a $5 million solo location dental practice. Who do you sell a $5 million dental office to? You call Rick. It's Rick or no one. I mean, he's liquidity. He's like the stock market. You can look at it. But the DSO, interesting thing about the DSO. So 2,000 out of 2,000 are 3 to 6 locations. So getting triggered and convert DSO to Pacific Dental Services and Aspen and Heartland every time someone says a word. That just shows that you're emotional, okay? And you're a Superman, so you open up a second location. Well, a Superman can work 2 locations, because he'll work through lunch, he'll work at the end of the day, he'll go on and say he'll make it happen. The 3rd location is where the peak of bankruptcy starts, because now you have a 3rd location, you can't run 3 locations, and your systems suck. See, what you do is you put all your work in the 1st location, and the hardest division you'll ever make is when 1 turns into 2. And there should never be 3 locations, because when 2 divide, it turns into 4. And when 4 divides, it turns into 8, and then to 16. And then you have 4,000 Walmarts around the world, okay? It's geometric expansion. And so they don't even know how to expand right. And by the time you got to 6, you figured it out. But now you're older than me and Mac Lee combined, and no one's ever going to buy your office because who the hell's going to buy? But think about it. Half my grandkids live in Beeville, Texas. It's about 19,000. To put that in perspective, they just built an apartment complex right by, you can walk to my Airbnb. By the way, I went there because like, well, I don't want to buy a house because I don't know where I want to live. All I know is I was in the suburbs, and hell, the suburbs are so boring if you're a single man. I mean, hell, I could have gone out and taken a nap in the street in front of my house and no one would have even noticed for 3 days. And now, so I said, well, let's go downtown Phoenix where I can walk to everything. They just built an apartment complex. It's a city block. It's 35 stories high. Guess how many people live in it? 19,000. That's the same size as Beeville, Texas, or Douglas, Arizona. I mean, amazing. I mean, you need a dentist for every 2,000 people. In that damn building, they need 8 full-time dentists. For just people, I mean, New York City, I'll never forget New York City. I walked into I said, where are all the dentists? I go, well, see that building there? It's 40 stories tall. Let's look it up. Okay, there's 18 dentists in there. And you're like, wow, yeah. I mean, it just makes sense. 2001. And but these DSOs, I mean, it's amazing. You know, you go into Beeville, you got a north, south, east, west. So now you got a billboard. Billboard makes sense. Radio is the cheapest advertising. You can be on radio all day long. Television, oh yeah, it's really expensive to advertise during your favorite program. And if your wife's favorite program is CSI, I would be concerned. I would come home, and what I do, I'd search the garage for what is it that antifreeze? Yeah, it seems like every time I've watched an episode of CSI with my daughter-in-law, I'm sitting there thinking, is she going to kill my son? And I need to tell my son about this antifreeze, because it seems like every third husband is killed by antifreeze. And but the bottom line is, I mean, the marketing, the scales of economics, and then with 4 locations, you can have a full-time marketing director. You can have a full-time AI programmer. You can have a comptroller. You know, instead of looking at your reports, I mean, when you get big enough scale, you can do a lot of things. And there's nothing wrong with scale if they don't have employee turnover. But if they have patient turnover, employee turnover, and doctor turnover, then if the turnover equals you're an asshole. You're shit. You do not know what you're doing. I can prove. I mean, imagine if Walgreens couldn't keep any of their pharmacists. Imagine, you know, when I practiced next to Walgreens, I used to go around to all the pharmacists routinely, bringing them donuts. And when the iPhone came out, I'd say, you know, because I say, what's the number one dental question you guys get? And they say, well, people always come in and say, should I get Ambisol, or should I get ibuprofen, or Excedrin? And I want you to pull out your iPhone and FaceTime me. I was the original teledentistry guy because I could really diagnose it over a FaceTime. I mean, they'd pull their teeth back, and I'm like, we're either going to save it, or with a root canal, or pull it. I always nailed it. It was always one of them two. And every time I was right. And they would come in, and I would bring them donuts. I would always, every dentist, every pharmacist in Ahwatukee, it's part of Phoenix, but everybody calls it Ahwatukee. It's the part of Phoenix south of here. Every one of them pharmacists was invited over my house. I was always having, I'd always tell my ex, I said, we met at 14, got married at 24, married 20 years, 4 kids, amazing, but I aspired, I was a workaholic. And I just took it for granted, and I love it. I still just want to work. That's all. I just love it. And I'd always say to her, I said, well, she'd say, well, Friday you want to go to dinner? I said, no. I give her a list. Here's all the chiropractors. Here's all the pharmacists. Here's all the MDs. Yeah, there was one lady who was a pelvic health. I'm a man. I didn't know what a pelvic health specialist was. I'm still not sure what the shit they do. But it's something in the pelvic area. And I know I have a pelvis. But anyway, I was always networking with the healthcare providers. I was getting 1 or 2 patients referred a month from every chiropractor. By the way, of the 13 chiropractors, all 12 came. Of the DOs, they all came. DOs are like, really? You think I'm a doctor? Really? I mean, the allopaths have destroyed their self-esteem, the osteopaths. You know, they've always done that in America, name calling and all that stuff like that. And the MDs, out of like 40 MDs. No, I think it was 50 MDs in Ahwatukee. Guess how many of them I got to come out of my house for dinner, Mac? Yeah. Yeah, like 3. Because I was a dentist. I wasn't even a real doctor. And those guys are egomaniacs. They're just nuts. And what are they? They're all insurance driven. They all got 10 minutes a patient. They can't sell their practice. Did you know that? They can't sell their practice. There's no value because anybody that opens up and starts accepting Medicaid and Medicare is already booked out 4 months in advance. So no one will buy your practice. And they don't have any equipment in there because they don't do surgery. They don't work with their hands and make anything. They're not surgeons. They're prescription pill writers. You go to your MD, it's like, well, I can't sleep very good. Sleeping pill. I'm a little stressed. Prozac. I grinded my teeth once. More Prozac. I mean, they never tell you about anything you could change on your diet or exercise. They're in there for 10 minutes. I mean, and I was changing positions forever before I finally got a position. And now I'm going to fire him because now I finally found a physician that doesn't take insurance, and I can actually call and FaceTime and talk about something because I'm always on ChatGPT and I'm always asked. I have all these questions, and I found him on my charts. So there is a higher market. Now I got more money than your average bear, but I can't believe that guy for 40 years is still chasing Medicaid and Medicare and all this stuff like that. So they're in their own world. But I networked. I told my wife, I don't care what you buy if you spend it on Ahwatukee. You want furniture? There's 3 furniture shops. I don't care if you buy out the shop because they're all going to be patients. And your turnover, I'd always say, my staff would come to me and go, well, your assistant's a bitch. I said, she's been a bitch for 30 years, but she's lovely to all the patients. The patients, I'll be standing up there and they'll say, yeah, Dr. Fran did a root canal and I can't chew on it. Is Jen there? And they go, well, she's working her ass off. Dr. Fran sitting right here. Okay, well, just give Jen my number and tell her to call me when she can. It's like they all loved her. It's all about she was my first dental assistant and she retired when I did. And when I sold my practice, my 2 new hygienists had been there 12 years. The new hygienists had been there 12 years. That's what it is. That's quality dentistry. That's not, and some DSOs have that. About half of them do, but they're all in that 3 to 6 location. Remember, DSO does not mean Heartland and Aspen and Pacific Dental Services, okay? That's what you believe it is. It's that 3 to 6 location. And the ADA, hire your own damn IT full stack software engineers. In fact, I'll even give you that. In fact, I'll do the interviewing for you and I'll send them to you. But you're never going to outsource this. Same thing with AI in your office. The future dental consultants are going to come in and they're going to sit down in each department and they're going to just look at, okay, how do you do insurance billing? It's going to be hands-on. And then if there's an AI solution, they're going to implement there. You go to a dental office where your staff they're not even on ChatGPT. And I always say ChatGPT because that's the brand. Tell you the truth, all my programmers, we all like Claude the most. Claude seems to be the most, in dentistry. Yes, and the open source models like DeepSeek, Kiwi, and Quian, or whatever, those 3, they're wrong all the time. They're open source. Maybe maybe in another year, 2, 3 years, it'll all be different. But right now, Claude is the smartest by far. ChatGPT comes in second. But someone needs to sit down with your staff, and they need to work through, and they need to go through each one of those departments. And they're going to be implementing AI solutions in your practice. But usually what consultants do right now, they come in with a canned presentation. Do they really have time? Think about when there was charts, and I had 5,000 charts. It would take 2 months to come through and go through all those charts to tell you how many were active, all that stuff like that. You got to be digital. And there's too much information. You got to read that stuff with AI. If you have 5,000 patients, there's no way a consultant knows what the hell is going on in your office unless AI could rip through all that and tell you what's in all that data. So they're mad at Delta. They're mad at their mom. They're mad at the ADA. They're mad at the government. My God, the big beautiful bill. And I understand all those tax cuts because seriously, the billionaires need more tax relief. They really do. And if you don't understand that, you're just, what do you have, empathy? What do you have, what is it, a human rights thing? And it's America. They've been this way since 1980. I remember in 1980, My first business class was in Omaha, Nebraska, and that's where Warren Buffett's from, the guru of Berkshire Hathaway. And he actually came in and lectured to our business class. And to tell you how dumb I was, we had to write up a deal about what we thought of Warren Buffett's presentation, and I said he was dumber than a rock. And it was because the only thing anybody was talking about on the Wall Street Journal, my dad and all his business friends, was the Nifty 50. And he don't own one Nifty 50 stock. And I even asked him about Polaroid and Kodak and Xerox, and he said, son, if I can't understand your business and explain it on a 5x7 recipe card with a number 2 pencil, I have no business investing in it. And that's why I bought See's Candy. And I was like, and there's a reason you're not in Washington and Wall Street, because you're dumber than a rock. And what I should have done is dropped out of Creighton, taken my $6,000 tuition and put it in Berkshire Hathaway, and then just went and smoked pot and became a surfer for 20 years. And then today I have figured it out several times in my life. I think the first time I figured it out, I would have had like 20 million. And then I think the last time I figured it out, I would have had like 200 million. And, but yeah, that shows you how smart I am. So I'm so smart, I thought Warren Buffett was an idiot. But the government, it's the same thing. I mean, it's anything. They've been saying they were going to balance the budget since 1980. And then 1990, then 2000, then 2010, then raise your hand if you think the next Congress will balance the budget. Come on, someone's smoking pot in here. Who is it? Where's the hippie? Yeah, they're not. I mean, they're incompetent. But you can't get, and they came from all your churches and all your schools and all your towns and all 50 states, and you always talk to them like they're from Mars or Pluto. No, go inside your own family. If you go to a Ferran family reunion, you would think the CDC would have like some type of genetic research going on, that they should be like drawing everybody's blood and wondering how we all got here. I mean, my family, my mom's brother died. We're Irish. He got so drunk at a Notre Dame game that he didn't make it all the way back to his hotel room, so he stopped on the park bench for a breather. They found him frozen to death the next morning. Yeah, we're Irish. Our family tree is upside down, but that's the way the whole country is. It's the way the politicians have always been. This shit always rises to the top. My 2 oldest sisters are Catholic nuns. One's an Immaculate Heart of Mary nun. One's a cloistered Carmelite monk. And the management of all the way to the top of the Catholic Church, yeah, that gets some weird people. It doesn't reflect the bottom 85% of the church. It's the same thing with the government. All the sociopaths rise to the top and end up in government. They're CEOs of Fortune 500. The craziest shit always floats to the top, and it's going to be that way in 1,000 years. It's going to be that way in 2,000 years. It's going to be that way in 20,000 years. And if you think times are bad, you really think you're the first people that lived in bad times? Really? Did you miss the lecture class on World War II, World War I, the Holocaust, everything that ever happened in Rome any day of the week during the entire empire? Yeah. Most people lived through really shitty times. And if this is as shitty as the shitty times go, I don't think so. I'm over. My problem is I just can't eat everything I want to eat, and that's what the crucifix I carry. I mean, go back in the history books. I mean, how many people died in World War II? What was it, 70 million? And people are saying these are the worst of times. I'm like, even in America, did anybody remember? Did you ever hear of the thing called? Probably never heard of it. It was called the Civil War. Anybody hear about that? Where 800,000 people were mowed down and died. I mean, yeah, these are shitty times. And yeah, the politicians suck. And yeah, you're mad at them. And the dentists are really mad at them. And the big, beautiful bill sucks. And then they're passing laws to expand functions, their dental therapies. And the dental therapy deals, you guys went through this with the hygienists. When you guys tried to get dental hygienists, it was the exact same arguments that this is going to erode dentistry and you should be doing the cleanings. They're like, sir, you do 5 full mouth dentures a day. I think you don't do any cleanings. You don't have any period. Why don't we have same arguments against the dental hygienists are now against dental therapists, things like that. So it's the same arguments, the same people, everything same. Why does Midwestern right up the street, why do they charge so much money? Because every time a dental school raises their tuition $10,000 a year, it has zero impact on applications. Now think about it, you raised all your prices $10,000 and Delta said, cool. Would you raise them $10,000 again the next year? If Delta said, absolutely. You'd raise them $10,000 every year if Delta went along with it. So why are you all bitching at that? Since when can someone raise their price $10,000 and get away with it and not do it? So you know how much dental school is going to cost 10 years from now? Probably $1 million. Why? Because you'll pay, some rich dentist will pay, like if one of my 4 sons or 8 grandkids got accepted to dental school and it was $1 million a year, I'd write the check today. I mean, it's just, you know, we're crazy ass humans. And so, the future dentist will be corporate drones. No. So, let's start with the associates. You're coming out of school. You've done 15 canals of endo. Yeah, you're a doctor. Hell yeah. In fact, you're a doctor of dental surgery. And I should throw rose petals on the ground. You need to get a job where you can get some volume under your belt. You need to get a job. But when you go get that associate dentist, I want everybody to know when you graduate in dental school, you walk down that aisle, they don't say, congratulations, sir, you're a doctor of dental surgery, DDS, or a doctor of dental medicine, DMD. They need to say, you're a doctor of dentistry, and you don't know shit about anything else. So when you go get a job for a DSO and you sign a contract, are you a lawyer? Did you have one lawyer class? Did you get a law degree in undergrad? No, dumbass. You have a lawyer look at it. And of course the salesman's going to say, well, it doesn't matter because we only signed this boilerplate. They're paying $5,000 finder fees if you deliver a dentist to a big DSO. $5,000. Half the experts on LinkedIn and dentistry are people that are trying to find. I get texts every day, are you looking for a job? It's called the finder's fee. They're desperate because they're turnover. I think Heartland keeps them the longest. I think it's about 2 years. Most DSOs keep their associate dentist a year. I mean, they can you imagine if Walgreens needed all new pharmacists every damn year? And CVS, oh yeah, every year we need all new pharmacists. They'd have to be getting them from Asia and Europe and Africa and South America. You know, fix your business model first, starting with human turnover, with your patients, with your staff, with your friends, your loved ones. And the associate deal is you need to have a lawyer that specializes only in dentistry. And it's so cute. Some of the Mormons, they're so adorable. I'll say, well, where did you get this lawyer? Oh, at my ward. He's a lawyer for my ward. Well, I'm sure he's a great man, but I need someone who's great in dentistry only. Have you ever heard of the endodontist? Yeah, he doesn't do your vasectomy. If you need your nuts clipped and he goes to church with you and he does root canals, yeah, I wouldn't use him. I mean, he's a good man. He's good on endo. He's a horrible nut clipper, okay? You need to get someone that only clips nuts to do your vasectomy, okay? Specialize, you're a lawyer. And they're all in Dental Town. There's so many lawyers on Dental Town and accountants and CPAs and all that stuff like that. You need to get a specialist to read that contract. Should associates get paid for x-rays? Associates interpret the x-rays. That's diagnostic. Owners argue hygienists take them. Office pays the overhead. Some credit based on who interprets, who reads it. Varies by region contract. Well, the bottom line is this. You know who gets paid and who should get paid for the x-rays during a routine hygiene exam? Whatever the contract says. That's what the court's going to uphold. No one gives a shit if you pay the hygienist, the dentist, or the dog Blue back in the break room. You could have it all donated to charity. It's contract law, and the dentist he didn't have it ran by a contract because he's a doctor of everything. He knows everything about everything. And you listen to an accountant, and the accountant's got 100 clients, and only 3 of them are dentists, and half own a dry cleaner, restaurant, wheat farm, pig farm. No. There are tons of accountants. Look at this. CPAs, they have the Academy of Dental CPAs. They have the Institute of Dental CPAs. Kane Water. I mean, those are all organizations where accountants only do dentists. By the way, as far as a career in DSOs, and I want you to think about this. A lot of people feel bad because they think, I feel bad because I work at a DSO. Well, I mean, why that? Well, people always talk shit about the DSO. Okay,
Do you lay in bed at night and talk to other people, or are you you? I mean, you're you. How does this work for you? I know a girl, a good friend of mine, Marion Ho. She was a single mother raising a kid. She didn't want to own a dental office. She wanted to 8 to 5. You know what her top priority was? Raising that kid. I remember when I first met him, he was that tall, and now he's taller than me, which is about 99% of all men. And so the bottom line is, I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks about what I'm doing. I look in the mirror and care what I'm doing. If you tell me, is it raining? Is that hail? Okay, I'm from the desert. Okay, that like never happens. Okay, so someone in the room here is evil. I don't know where you came from. It's you. It's just, yeah, it's the it's Canada. They're like, yeah, the 51st state. I'll show you where the 51st state is. It's downtown Arizona. And sorry, the bottom line is that is amazing. But the bottom line is if a DSO is right for you, I'm glad. I hope you stay in one place. I hope you work with a dental assistant that stays with you in the same location 10, 20, 30 years. Don't give a shit what other people think of you. That's the recipe for insanity. But I want you to look at the math on this. So a career in a DSO, after 20 years, they're gonna earn about $4 million. Why ownership's gonna be about $6.5, $7 million. Now ownership gives greater autonomy, blah, blah, financial upside, but it comes with staff management, stress and rest. You know, it's the thing. Being married is hard. Being single is hard. Being healthy is hard. Being unhealthy is hard. Being an employee dentist is hard. Owning a dental office is hard. Being in-network insurance is hard. Being out of network is hard. Life is hard. It just comes down to you choose your own hard. And you know, you own a dental office, I mean, you're thinking about that damn thing 24/7. When are you not thinking? And think of all the hats you got to wear on insurance and overhead and staff and management. Not to mention go learn all the clinical dentistry from Mac and Endo. And I went to Carl Mish's course. I got my diplomat and the fellowship in the Mish Institute. I mean, you got to learn how to do root canals. And finally, I was learning so much stuff. I dropped surgical implants and I dropped ortho. It's like I finally realized with surgical implants that if you could spend your entire all 168 hours in a week and not learn everything about surgical placement of endos. I can't be a master of everything. I can't be an endodontist, a periodontist, a pediatric dentist, an oral surgeon, an oral facial. I can't do it all. It's impossible. But you choose your own hard. But I want to get back to this. So if you go to the career DSO path, you get $4 million. You go to the career owner path. I opened up my office 4 months out. It's $6.5, $7 million. If you own the land and building and real estate, you got another play on that. But the bottom line is, what the hell's the difference between 4 million and 6.5? I mean, what is 6.5 million going to buy you that 4 million won't? I can already tell you that, you know, when you go to KFC, you think, well, it's going to be healthy because I'm only going to eat the coleslaw and it's all sugar and fat. There's no nutritionists that go thumbs up to the coleslaw. You're already going to go to restaurants and they say, you want dessert? Yeah, I want to eat until you have to give me insulin. But you can't. I mean, what the hell? What the hell is going to go? You think your marriage is going to fail because you only got 4 million instead of 6.5 million? Really? Really? And by the way, some of the richest people, Warren Buffett pointed that out in all of his Berkshire Hathaway meetings, some of the richest people in the world, billions and billions and trillions, are some of the most miserable people in the world. And then I always looked at my mother. She was always the happiest person in the world. She was always happy. She never gave a shit about anything. She was always happy, and she always thought everything was meant to be. And I remember they asked Mother Teresa, what would you do if you found out that you only had 6 months to live and you're going to die of cancer? And she goes, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd just keep on plowing my garden. I mean, what would change? Whereas you would all freak out, you got to make all these changes. You should have made those changes a long time ago. Dentistry is great. You work with a lot of hot women. You're inside. You have an air. You know what your biggest stress is? You got some big old heavy set lady that's always turning the air conditioner down to Antarctica, and some skinny girl on crack turning up the heat on, and it's the crack fighters versus the it's like, Yeah, well, how would you like to be out in Arizona right now getting hailed on, only to know an hour later you're going to have 110 degrees of radiation and all that kind of stuff. This AI stuff, so let me tell you how to make 100,000. Can I go over just a little bit? How much more time can I go? Okay, tell me when to shut up, because a couple things. How do you make $100,000 a year or more a year at school? Well, if you get out of school and you go specialize, specialists make $244, generals about $190. You're going to basically make $100,000 a year more being a specialist, because the insurance companies pay you more and you only have the overhead of doing one thing. One of my good friends in dental school, I don't want to say his name, I don't want to get back to Barry Polinsky. I said, well, why do you want to be an endodontist? He goes, I'm telling you right now, this shit's so hard, I just want to pick one thing. And so I just picked root canals. I don't know why, but I'm only picking one thing. And there's no way I'm going to learn dentures, root canal, kids, braces. I'm just doing one thing. Yeah, so their overhead's lower, the insurance pays them more. If you own your own practice, you make about, you make about 60,000 more as a specialist, and you make about, I just round it to 100, because dentists who are employed at a practice make about 183. You own your practice, 260. Simple math tells you, well, how much should you be able to make off an associate? Well, you should be able to make the difference between 183 and 260. So I was making about $100,000 a year after each one of my associates for 3 decades. But if your insight's like, well, I should make $200,000 a year, $300,000, well, dude, there's limits. It's called oral surgeons. They make $334. Periodontists $211. Endo $266. Pediatric dentists $284. But did anyone tell you that when you go into pediatric dentistry that you're going to work with crying, screaming kids your whole life? I'd rather be the manager at Taco Bell than a pediatric dentist. And if you said to me, well, why do you have burnout and disease and depression? I mean, you're making $284. Yeah, I work with screaming, bawling, crying kids. It's moral injury. It's heart injury. I no longer want to live. And then if you went and worked at Taco Bell, if you go to Taco Bell, they got the new mango slushy with no crying kid. Yeah, I'll take, and I love my grandkids. I still can't figure all this out. But there's 12 specialties. I get that one. Owning your own practice, I really believe, here's what I really believe. If your mom was to stay home and made cookies and your dad was an employee on the line, you're not cut out to owning your own practice. Everybody that loves owning their own practice, their dad was a farmer, owned a restaurant, somebody in the house was free enterprise, they grew up in free enterprise, and it's a family tradition. And some cultures, they're more like that. Far more Persians. Where's my little Persian kitty cat in here? I saw one walk in. Where is she? Is she in here? She's gone. But when I lecture all around the world, when you go and you're at a family dinner in Iran, in Lebanon, in South Korea, in Japan, they just talk about business. And then when you go to poor countries, in Central and South America, the whole family, all they talk about is soccer. And they're just as happy, same people, same food, same family values, everything's love. But if you grow up and your mom and dad are employees and you watch soccer games around the clock, and them games are long, it'd be like a 3-hour game and the score will be 1-0. And you're just like, I need an ounce of cocaine to watch this, okay? I need something, a large pizza. But the bottom line is, you either grow up in free enterprise or you don't. And if you don't grow up in free enterprise, it's like I would hate to sit there and graduate in dental school and find out that the only sport I'm ever going to watch the rest of my life is soccer and cricket. It's like, no! It's the NFL or the NFL or the NFL. I don't even like college football. I just watch those like, God dang, there might be 3 good guys in here that make the NFL. But the bottom line is you're born into this stuff. If you're a mother, there's just as many women that will tell you that you can be a lot better mother if you own your own practice, because then you can do whatever you want. And for every one of them on Dental Town, there's one that says, no, I DSO employee, I want to be a dental. So for you to sit there as a woman and say, no, you can't work at a DSO and be a good mother. You got to own your own practice. Okay, you're a psycho and you need to shut the fuck up. And you need to get offline and quit posting on Instagram. Front office, I just want to tell you in the front office right here. So here's the deal in your office. 3 people have to call your office before 1 gets in. 3 people have to come in before 1 gets treatment. So we're talking about, you're talking about TMD, you're talking about craniofacial pain. Do you realize that when you study it, you need 9 people to come in the funnel for one to get treatment? Websites, I go to your websites. On Dental Town, I always call bullshit. Like some guy will say, well, most of my big cases of 25,000 or more, people fly in from another state. And I'm like, yeah, right. And you're from Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah, right. But I know that my dentist friends are not all pathological liars. I think only like 1 or 2 or 3% of them are. And so I sat there and I go to his website, all his own cases. Then I was in Albuquerque. The best implantologist, I knew who he was. He's my buddy. And you go to his website, he got some canned website off the deal. And then you want to get craniofacial, well, people come in and know what you do. And I just want to look at your website. And I'll go to your website, and you wouldn't even know that you do TMJ or TMD, and you just have initial for a search deal. And there's no YouTube videos of talking English. That's what I liked about Mac's stuff. Mac always was explaining it to me when you're at his own course like I was 5 years old. And that's how you got to explain everything to everybody. And those aren't on your site. I would not know. I should know everything about you just by visiting your website. And when those guys, and I watched this with a friend of mine wanted a boob job. And she told me that she just didn't feel comfortable with this. Very, very personal. And I was giving her food tips, and she snapped at me. She worked for me. She snapped at me. She goes, well, I wish you were getting the boob job and you would just own it. And I thought, all right. Well, I'd like to own it because I present treatment, and 2 boob doctors have presented you treatment, and you feel real bad. So I went there, and the first guy, the place looked average and marginal, and he was using brochures for breast augmentation. I thought, where's his own work? His own website was like everybody's website. Went to the second one. The first one was in Tempe, went to the second one in Scottsdale. Same thing. I thought you guys, and you talk to the guys that only do case presentation deal. Who's the big guy, the implantologist guy that has used to work with Mish a lot? Paul Homily. I mean, all the data is the same. 90% of all the treatment plans you present that are over $10,000 are not accepted. So you tell me you want to do more, whatever you're doing, 90% of your treatment plans aren't even accepted. So you start diving into that, and you start saying, what's up with that? And you start realizing, so then I thought, well, how do I find the best boob doctor? And then I thought to myself, well, if I had really perfect big boobs, I'd probably work in a booby bar. So I called up Bourbon Street and asked for the owner. And he was scared shitless. He thought I was probably the FBI, the CIA, the police officer, somebody did something wrong. And on the phone, I told him my dilemma. I said, I got a girl, and she really wants to have this done. He'd recommend. He goes, yeah, everyone gets them done for $3,800. But then after they work here, they'll make $300 or $400 a night. But they realize the girl's making $2,000 a night, got theirs done by Dr. Cinch, and they'll go have him redo it, and he charges $9,000. So we set a treatment plan for that guy. That guy asked to take a peek, takes a peek, tells us this: get me carousel 7 and 8. You sit down, he puts on 7 and 8. Everyone on the left side looked just like her, according to her, and everyone on the right side looked like what she wanted, all his own work. So do your own work. And as far as the AI, it's bleeding edge, like Mango. Mango's the number 1 for receptionists. There's so many problems with that. There's so many things. You need a programmer in your office to install it. You can't buy this stuff bleeding edge and install it into a dental office. That's what the ADA did when they tried to redo their deal. As far as AI in the future of dentistry, here's the radiology. AI already rivals. This is my last slide. Radiology already rivals human scan reading. They're going to get 1 oral radiologist using AI will extinct 90% of her coworkers. Pathology, it's orthodontics. You can already do the scan. It'll write the prescription. It'll tell the aligners. It'll print out the deal. You can go from a scan to a printed aligner. When we were young, the orthodontists would change every month because you got paid every month. You paid every month. Now they do an aligner every, the first they went to 2 weeks. So your 2-year treatment went to 1 year. Now they're doing it every week. I mean, you can go straight from scanning AI diagnose, print the retainers. AI is coming down the road, people, and it's you ain't seen nothing yet. And I'm gonna tell you this: why would you go to oral surgery school? Right now, 120 dental practices in the United States have a robot that have placed over 40,000 implants, and they place them perfectly. And you're in dental school, and you're about to sign up for a 6-year program to become an oral and maxillofacial surgeon, MD, for 6 years, and Yomi's already placed 40,000 implants. You give that another year or two, that'll be 400,000 implants. You give that, 5 years, that'll be 4 million implants. And you go 10 years, no one in the world would want a monkey placing their damn implants. Laying a big old flap so you can see. This thing's down to the micron. The smallest thing your eye can see is 50 microns. You're not going to be placing implants. Nobody wants a prime. I'm in the land of Waymo. Google did their driverless cars here. Since they did the program, the driverless car has killed no one and no one's died in the driverless car. In just one of the years alone, 346 humans were killed by drivers that were primates with 10 fingers and 10 toes. Okay? You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone that does your same job who uses AI. If you're using AI, you're going to be the AI winners. If you're not using AI, you're going to get eaten alive. And I'll just let with 2 more examples. 2 of my buddies out here, one owns an architect firm. You know that building? It used to be, you want to build a 40-story apartment building? That's $1 million a year contract. You had all these people drawing it, yada, yada, yada. You had a whole firm for that. Now you come in, you tell him the land, he pulls it up. It already knows the soil samples, knows everything about it. You tell me you want to build an apartment complex, how many units? 30,000, you plug it in, the building's built. No, I don't want 8 foot, I want 10 foot. Boom, one change is already done. The plumbing, the electrical, everything's done. By the end of the consultation, the whole building's been designed, the permits have been sent off. Another friend of mine is a lawyer. Every year he has one less lawyer. Why? Because he hired one kid from law school that was also had a degree in computer programming. He had computer sciences, and he got a lawyer in computer sciences. And you go into the old man, and you do this big old consultation, and then you come back in 2 weeks. He's going to find all this stuff in the books, blah, blah. You go into this guy, he's got like this. He's recording the phone call. While you're recording, he's pulling up all the statutes for the state of Arizona, all 50 states, and all countries, just to get a feeling about how humans have been dealing with this situation since the beginning of time in the Greeks and the Romans. And then when it's all done, and then as you decide what you want to do, and you say you need to go to the judge to file this, it's already been sent. And they don't even like emailing it anymore or faxing it. They like agentic AI, where your agent talks to their agent. But like you can right now, you can make it with agentic AI. You can sit there and say, it's Friday. I want to leave tonight on Southwest Airlines. I want to fly to LA, and I want to stay at the Disneyland Hotel, and I want tickets to California Land on Friday, and I want to go to the other park on Saturday. Boom, done instantly, the speed of light. No humans are involved. Southwest Airlines, Disneyland, that's agentic AI, where your AI is your agent. But people, there's only going to be 2 types of people. Those that embrace AI and those that don't. And if you don't, that lawyer, every year, he fires one more of his lawyer because he just can do the caseload. And on that note, I just want to say, Mac, thank you so much for having me. And if you had one half as much fun as I did today, you had a fun day. Thank you very, very much for having me.